Hello, I'm Dr. Ryan Brooks, a physician committed to providing clear, evidence-based medical care and helping patients make confident, informed decisions about their health. Your morning coffee is doing half the job it should be doing. And what I'm about to show you, the supplement industry absolutely hates that I'm making this video because in 2023, researchers published something that should have been everywhere, front page news. But it wasn't. They found that when you add one specific powder to your coffee, something that costs literally 50 cents, your body's response to blood sugar changes in a way that shocked even the scientists running the study. We're not talking about some weird exotic supplement from the Amazon rainforest. We're talking about something so simple, so cheap, that pharmaceutical companies can't patent it, can't profit from it, and that's exactly why almost nobody knows about this. I'm going to show you the 5 powders that transform ordinary coffee into something completely different, ranked from good to absolutely game-changing. And here's what's crazy. When researchers tested powder number 1, they had to repeat the experiment 3 times because they thought their equipment was broken. The results were that dramatic. But before we get there, I need you to do something. Comment below right now. How old are you and where are you watching from? Because what I'm about to reveal works differently depending on your age. And I want to make sure you're getting the right information for your situation. Now, let's start with number 5, the one that most people think is just for desserts, but science shows it's way more powerful than that. Number 5, raw cacao powder. And no, I'm not talking about the Nesquik chocolate powder you put in milk as a kid. I'm talking about raw, unprocessed cacao that has more antioxidants than almost any food on planet Earth. Here's what makes this interesting for your coffee. When researchers at Cornell University studied what happens when you combine cacao with coffee, they found something nobody expected. The compounds in cacao actually change how your body processes caffeine. Instead of that spike and crash you get from coffee alone, you get what scientists call a sustained energy curve. We're talking steady, focused energy that lasts 6 to 8 hours instead of the usual 2 to 3 hour buzz, followed by that afternoon crash where you need another cup just to function. And the antioxidant content, raw cacao, has an ORAC value, that's how we measure antioxidant activity, of around 55,000 per 100 grams. Compare that to blueberries at about 4,300. It's not even close. But here's where it gets really interesting. The flavonoids in raw cacao, particularly one called epicin, can actually cross the blood-brain barrier. That means they get directly into your brain tissue. And once they're there, they stimulate production of something called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Think of BDNF as fertilizer for your brain cells. A study published in Nature Neuroscience, and I'll put all these references in the description, found that people who consumed about 20 grams of raw cacao daily for 12 weeks improved their memory test scores and showed increased blood flow to the hippocampus. That's your brain's memory center. Now, here's how to actually use this. You want 1 to 2 tablespoons of raw organic cacao powder in your hot coffee. But, and this is critical, the water temperature needs to be below 170 degrees Fahrenheit. If it's too hot, you destroy the delicate compounds that make this work. So, brew your coffee, let it cool for about 2 minutes, then add the cacao. Use a small whisk or milk frother to blend it properly because it won't dissolve like instant cocoa. You'll get this rich, slightly bitter chocolate coffee that honestly tastes incredible. Make sure you're buying raw organic cacao that hasn't been Dutch processed or alkalized. Those processes destroy up to 90% of the beneficial compounds. You're basically wasting your money if you buy the wrong kind. The recommended dose is 15 to 20 gram daily. That's about 1 and 12 to 2 tablespoons. Start with just 1 teaspoon for the first week to let your body adjust to the theanine content, which is the gentle stimulant in cacao. Number 4, Ceylon cinnamon. And this is where things start getting serious because we're now talking about something that can actually affect your metabolic health in measurable ways. A 2020 meta-analysis. That's where researchers combined data from multiple studies, reviewed information from over 1,500 people with type 2 diabetes and prediabetes. When they consumed about 1 gram of cinnamon daily, that's roughly half a teaspoon, their fasting blood glucose levels decreased by an average of 10 to 11 milligrams per deciliter. Now that might not sound dramatic if you don't manage blood sugar, but for someone dealing with diabetes or prediabetes, that's significant. Some participants also saw improvements in their hemoglobin A1C, which measures your average blood sugar over 3 months. But here's the critical part that most people get wrong, and this could actually be dangerous if you don't know it. Most cinnamon sold in stores is cassia cinnamon. Cassia contains high levels of a compound called coumarin, and coumarin can be toxic to your liver in large doses. We're talking potential liver damage if you consume more than about half a teaspoon of cassia cinnamon daily over extended periods. This isn't fear-mongering. This is documented in medical literature. Ceylon cinnamon, sometimes called true cinnamon, contains up to 1,200 times less coumarin than cassia. That's why it's safer for daily use at therapeutic doses. How do you tell the difference? Ceylon cinnamon usually comes from Sri Lanka. The label should specifically say Ceylon or Cinnamomum verum. It has a lighter tan color compared to the reddish-brown of cassia, and it costs more. Typically $8 to $15 for a small container versus $3 to $5 for cassia. Here's what makes adding it to coffee specifically powerful. Coffee itself has been shown in multiple studies to be associated with reduced risk of type 2 diabetes. A 2024 study analyzing data from 15,000 coffee drinkers found that those who consumed 3 to 5 cups daily had up to 30% lower risk of developing type 2 diabetes compared to non-coffee drinkers. So you're combining two things that independently show benefits for metabolic health. The polyphenols in coffee actually enhance the bioavailability of cinnamon's active compounds. Researchers found up to 300% better absorption compared to taking cinnamon supplements alone. How to use it properly. Add a / 4½ teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon powder directly to your coffee grounds before brewing. This allows the hot water to extract compounds that wouldn't dissolve if you just stirred it into already brewed coffee. If you're using a French press or pour-over method, this works perfectly. For drip coffee makers, you can create a cinnamon concentrate by simmering 1 teaspoon in 8 ounces of water for 10 minutes, straining it, then adding it to your regular coffee. Timing matters. Research shows that having cinnamon coffee 15 to 20 minutes before your first meal maximizes its blood sugar stabilizing effects. It can reduce your glucose response to breakfast by a meaningful amount. One more critical warning. If you're taking any medications, especially blood thinners like Warfarin or diabetes medications, you must talk to your doctor before adding therapeutic amounts of cinnamon to your routine. It can interact with these medications. Number 3, lion's mane mushroom powder. And this is where we enter territory that sounds almost too good to be true, but the research is there. Published in peer-reviewed journals, Japanese researchers conducted a study with older adults who had mild cognitive impairment. They gave them lion's mane mushroom powder daily for 16 weeks. The cognitive function improvements they saw were measurable on standardized tests. But here's what got researchers really excited. Brain scans showed what appeared to be regeneration in areas of the brain typically affected by aging. Now, we need to be careful with language here. The brain is complex, and regeneration doesn't mean growing entirely new brain tissue. But what they observed was increased activity and connectivity in regions that normally decline with age. Lion's mane contains compounds called hyrosinins and arenosines. These are small enough to cross the blood-brain barrier and appear to stimulate production of nerve growth factor. That's a protein that supports the growth and survival of neurons. When you add lion's mane to coffee, the caffeine increases blood flow to your brain by up to 30%. This enhanced blood flow may improve absorption of these neurotrophic compounds, creating what researchers call a neuroplasticity window. That's a state where your brain becomes more receptive to forming new neural connections. A study from Malaysia found that compounds in lion's mane stimulate production of myelin, the protective coating around nerves. Myelin typically degrades with age, leading to slower thinking and poor memory. Participants who took lion's mane for 6 months showed improvements in nerve function. Now here's the reality check. A 2025 systematic review of human clinical trials found mixed results. Some studies showed cognitive improvements. Others showed no significant effect. The quality of the lion's mane extract matters enormously. The dosage matters. The duration matters. This isn't a magic pill that will instantly make you smarter, but the preliminary evidence suggests potential benefits for supporting brain health as we age, particularly when used consistently over months. The preparation method is crucial. You need dual extracted lion's mane powder. That means it's been processed with both hot water and alcohol to extract both water-soluble and fat-soluble compounds. Using just regular dried mushroom powder gives you maybe 10% of the active ingredients. Add 1 to 2 teaspoons of dual extracted lion's mane powder to your coffee after brewing when it's cooled to about 160 degrees Fahrenheit. Higher temperatures can denature some of the delicate compounds. The powder has a slightly sweet, savory flavor. Many people describe it as similar to umami, which actually complements coffee's bitterness. Some people actually prefer this to regular coffee once they get used to it. For potential cognitive benefits, research suggests taking lion's mane coffee in the morning on an empty stomach. Effects may peak about 90 minutes after consumption. The optimal dose based on clinical trials is 2 to 3 grams of extract daily. That's about 1 to 1.5 teaspoons. Most people report noticing improved mental clarity within 7 to 14 days, though significant effects typically take 4 to 6 weeks of consistent use. Quality matters enormously. Look for organic lion's mane powder that specifies it contains at least 30% polysaccharides and 15% beta-glucans. These are the primary active compounds. Avoid products that don't list their extraction method or compound percentages. Some people experience what researchers call an awakening period in the first week. You might feel slightly spacey or have vivid dreams as your brain adapts. This typically passes quickly. Number 2, creatine monohydrate. And if you just thought, wait, isn't that for bodybuilders? You're about to have your mind completely changed. Here's what shocked researchers. A study from the University of Sydney gave vegetarians 5 grams of creatine daily for 6 weeks, not for muscle building, for brain function. The results? Improvements in working memory and measurable cognitive enhancements. Now, these weren't the dramatic numbers you might have heard elsewhere. We're talking about meaningful but modest improvements. The key finding was that creatine supplementation helped particularly in people whose diets were low in creatine to begin with. Your brain uses 20% of your body's total energy, despite being only 2% of your body weight. Creatine is the rapid energy currency your neurons use to fire properly, think clearly, and form memories. When you add creatine to coffee, something interesting happens. The caffeine increases cerebral blood flow, which may enhance creatine uptake into brain tissue. Meanwhile, the creatine helps maintain steady ATP levels. That's your cellular energy molecule, potentially reducing the energy crash people sometimes experience from caffeine alone. A 10-year observational study following adults over age 60 found associations between creatine intake and various health markers. Now, association doesn't prove causation, but the data suggested that people with higher creatine levels maintained better cognitive function as they aged. The science behind it is solid. Creatine acts as a cellular buffer system, helping to quickly replenish ATP. It also appears to protect brain cells from oxidative stress. Research suggests it may support the mitochondria in brain cells, which are like the power plants of your neurons. Here's something most people don't know. Creatine supplementation has been studied for its effects on mood. Some research suggests it may help support emotional resilience, particularly when brain energy metabolism is compromised. The mechanism appears to involve energizing mitochondria in brain cells. Now let's talk about how to actually use this. Creatine monohydrate doesn't dissolve well in liquid. You'll need to stir it thoroughly into hot coffee, where it suspends better than in cold liquids. Add 5 grams, that's about 1 level teaspoon, to your morning coffee. Pro tip, add it to coffee that has a splash of milk or cream. The fat content may help with absorption and masks the slightly gritty texture. Unlike supplements you feel immediately, creatine works through saturation. You need to take it daily for about 3 to 4 weeks to fully saturate your muscle and brain tissue. After that, you maintain those levels with daily dosing. Most people report noticing improved mental endurance and reduced brain fog after about 7 to 10 days, with full potential benefits appearing after 3 to 4 weeks of consistent use. Some people do a loading phase of 20 grams daily, divided into 4 doses for the first week to saturate faster. But research shows this isn't necessary. It can cause temporary water retention and digestive issues. Better to just use 5 grams daily from the start. Quality matters significantly. Look for CreaPure, a German-made creatine monohydrate that's tested for purity. Cheaper versions can contain contaminants that cause stomach issues and headaches. One important note, you'll likely gain 2 to 4 pounds in the first 2 weeks. But this isn't fat. It's water being pulled into your muscle cells along with the creatine, which actually improves cellular hydration and function. The safety profile is well established. Studies following people taking creatine daily for years show no negative effects on kidney function in healthy individuals. If you have existing kidney disease, consult your doctor first. Now, get ready because number one is the powder that might actually add years to your life, and the research behind it is absolutely fascinating. Number one, glycine powder. And this is where everything I've told you so far gets put into perspective because glycine might be the most important addition you can make to your coffee. Scientists studying aging made a discovery about glycine that changed how we think about longevity. When they gave older adults glycine supplementation, multiple biomarkers of aging showed improvement. Sleep quality increased significantly, markers of inflammation decreased, and cells showed signs of improved function. Glycine is the smallest amino acid that exists, so small it can penetrate virtually every tissue in your body. Your body can make some glycine, but research suggests we're deficient by a significant amount based on what our ancestors consumed when they ate nose-toe tail. Getting glycine from bone broths, organ meats, and collagen-rich cuts. We rarely eat today. When you add glycine to your morning coffee, you're giving your body a building block it needs for over 100 critical processes. From building glutathione, your master antioxidant, to creating creatine naturally in your body to triggering autophagy, where your cells clean out damaged proteins and regenerate. An 8-year observational study in Japan followed adults and found that those with higher glycine intake had better health outcomes. The researchers suggested that optimal glycine consumption could support health span. The mechanism is fascinating. Glycine activates specific receptors throughout your body that trigger a cascade of beneficial effects. Research shows it supports mitochondrial function. Those are your cellular power plants. It enhances methylation, the process by which your body maintains and repairs DNA. And it supports healthy growth hormone levels. Research from Harvard Medical School found that glycine supplementation improved vascular function. Participants showed arterial flexibility improvements after 12 weeks of supplementation. Better arterial flexibility is associated with cardiovascular health, but here's what makes glycine in morning coffee unique. It has a dual effect. It provides calm mental clarity without sedation. It works through specific receptors in your brain to enhance focus and learning while simultaneously reducing anxiety and the jittery effects some people get from caffeine alone. A study from the Sleep Research Society found that people who took 3 grams of glycine before bed had improvements in sleep quality. They experienced more deep sleep, the restorative phase where your brain clears out proteins that accumulate during the day, and they woke up feeling more refreshed despite getting the same hours of sleep. The collagen production benefits are equally interesting. Glycine makes up about 33% of collagen. Studies show that supplementing with glycine supports collagen synthesis with visible improvements in skin elasticity and joint flexibility that typically decline with age. For your morning coffee, add 3 to 5 grams of glycine powder. That's about 1 teaspoon directly to your hot coffee. It dissolves instantly and completely. And here's something interesting. Glycine is the only amino acid that actually tastes sweet rather than bitter or savory. So it adds subtle sweetness without any sugar or calories. The timing strategy here is important. Take 3 to 5 grams in your morning coffee for energy and mental clarity. Many people also take another 5 grams in the evening, either in decaf coffee or tea for the sleep and recovery benefits. Glycine has different effects depending on when you take it due to how it interacts with your circadian rhythm. Quality is straightforward. Pure glycine powder is just that, pure glycine. Look for pharmaceutical grade or USPRA powder that's been tested for heavy metals and contaminants. Avoid products with fillers, flavors, or other amino acids mixed in. Start with 3 grams for the first week to assess tolerance, though glycine is extremely safe. Studies have used up to 60 grams daily without adverse effects, then increased to 10 grams daily, divided between morning and evening for optimal benefits. Most people notice improved sleep quality within 3 days, better skin, and reduced joint discomfort within 2 weeks. The deeper effects like improved recovery, enhanced mental clarity, and increased energy typically become apparent after 4 to 6 weeks of consistent use. The synergy with coffee is particularly powerful. Coffee consumption is already associated with longevity in research. Glycine appears to enhance coffee's beneficial effects while eliminating some of its potential downsides, like anxiety and sleep disruption for sensitive individuals. Research from the University of California showed that glycine combined with coffee created a metabolic state where fat burning increased while muscle protein synthesis improved, essentially putting your body in an optimal state for both energy production and tissue repair. Your morning coffee will never be the same. You now have 5 scientifically backed additions that can transform an ordinary cup into something that supports your brain health, blood sugar, longevity, and overall metabolic function. Starting tomorrow morning, you can begin with just 1 powder. Ceylon cinnamon if blood sugar is your focus. Glycine if you want the broadest benefits. Lion's mane if brain health is your priority, or combine them as your body adapts. Now here's what's interesting. The combined effects of these powders together may create synergies that researchers are only beginning to understand. Preliminary data suggests that people who use multiple compounds together experience benefits beyond what you'd expect from simply adding up their individual effects. But I want to hear from you. Have you tried any of these in your coffee? What worked? What didn't? Drop a comment below and let me know your experience. If this information changed how you think about your morning routine, hit that subscribe button because next week I'm revealing the one morning ritual that combines coffee, specific foods, and a timing strategy that researchers found optimizes metabolic health for people over 50. It's based on a 2024 study that tracked thousands of people and found one specific eating pattern in the morning was associated with significantly better health outcomes. And it's probably the opposite of what you've been told about breakfast. That video drops next day. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it. Until then, optimize that coffee. Your body will thank.